Hey everybody, Forever Retro 82 here. Thought I would talk about the story of my N64, or the N64, that holds a very special place in my heart, and a special place in gaming that a lot of people hate on it because it was cartridge and not CDs, but I'm kind of glad it was cartridge because we didn't have load times, but there's a lot of shortcomings with the system, and so did the PlayStation, but we'll get to that in a minute. Anyways, here's mine. Here's my beautiful Nintendo 64. Well, it's not beautiful, it's a system. Just, beautiful system. This motherfucker helped me through some hard times late in my teens. It basically gave me an outlet to get away from some of the shit that I was dealing with at the time. Because, teenage years bring some pretty shitty moments that you have, especially with women. We'll get to that in a minute. Got a little bit of dust on the vent grill there. That's what that is. And we'll explain about this in a minute. I love this system. This and the Super Nintendo, and of course the original NES. They're just wonderful systems. Love them to death. Anyways. So, we'll start off with the very beginning of it. Okay, so as most people have done, and Blockbuster was involved with this in terms of me when it comes to my experiences. I played the PlayStation when it originally came out in 1995. My first game I played on it was at Blockbuster by my house. The game was Battle Arena Toshinden, which was a 3D fighter that was very simplistic. But it was fun, and I also got to play a couple other games in different time periods from that point in time. I played Jumping Flash, Soul Blade, and then I would go down to Funkoland, which was further down the street from where Blockbuster was, and even play more games. And that's when I decided, hey, I'll get myself a PlayStation. So I got one Christmas in '95. Now, I always tell people the story that I sold the PlayStation and got an N64. That's half true. That is half true. Truth of the matter is, yes, I did sell the PlayStation. Why did I sell the PlayStation? I didn't like the games. The games weren't for me. I didn't enjoy them. I didn't like the control. I did not like some of the games. And the last game I completed before selling it was Final Fantasy VII. I do not like Final Fantasy VII. I know, I'm a very rare breed, but people want to act like... And there's two kinds of people that are fucking Sony fanboys that piss me off. There's people who think Castlevania Symphony of the Night is the be-all, end-all of Castlevania, and Final Fantasy VII is the be-all, end-all of Final Fantasies. One, fuck off, and two, just get the fuck away from me. Alright, I don't want to listen to your crap and your reasonings and why you think these are things. Castlevania is Super Metroid with a goddamn sword, okay? There's nothing fantastic about it other than the soundtrack and maybe some of the lore. Other than that, it's a has-been. Alright, I can get the same experience playing Super Metroid on my SNES. It's not a horrible game. It's not a bad game. It's just not the be-all, end-all of Castlevania. So, fuck off. And Final Fantasy VII, the characters are stale. The plot has been done to death on animes. It's pretty much Dragon Ball Z mixed in with, fuck me, just every other goddamn anime that was out at the time. And everyone's like, oh, wow, it's amazing with the story. I mean, if I want a story, I'll read a fucking book. Alright, if I want a story, I'll do that. I don't want to play a game that's just so focused around story that it makes my head spin. I just want to get to the fucking game, play it to completion, and move about my day. So are there Final Fantasies I like? Damn right. There's two of them. 4 and 6. Mentioned it many times before. They're also known as 2 and 3 here in America during the SNES's run in production here in America. I love Final Fantasy 4. I love the characters in it. Cecil, Kain, Rosa, Rydia, Fusoya, Yang, Palmporum. They're all amazing. They all have great skill traits, and they also balance the game between you and the enemies that you face within the game. And it's a story about redemption of a Dark Knight. It's really good. If you haven't played Final Fantasy IV, you owe it to yourself to play it. It's a pretty good story, and it's not heavy on it either, like Final Fantasy VII. In Final Fantasy VI, I mean, you got kick-ass characters there too. You got Edgar Sabin of the Figaro family, Figaro Castle. You have Siam. You have Gao, Umaru, Mog, Locke, Celeste, Terra. Just awesome characters, and they have great personalities. The ones in 7 are dull as shit. Cloud is a fucking emo whiny bitch with a big sword, and that's to compensate probably for his small dick. I don't like Cloud. I think Cloud's a... And Sephiroth, please. Kefka would bitch smack him in the middle of next week. Now, Zeromus, he's a pussy. No one can take Zero. Everyone... Zeromus is not a threat to anybody in Final Fantasy IV. He just looks like a pile of shit. If you've ever played Final Fantasy IV through its completion. But my heart of hearts and opinions of opinions. You know, my opinion's not be all end all, but I'm just letting you all know my absolute opinion on Final Fantasy and Castlevania. My favorites, like I said, with Castlevania, Super Castlevania 4 to me is my absolute favorite. It's what Castlevania was known for. That linear style with 8-way whip control, awesome bosses, and basically a remake of the first game. And it was done really well. Metroidvania games are okay. They're alright. They're just not my favorite. I prefer the linear style, but that's just me. Nothing against Igarashi. He's a good developer. He's a lot better than Kojima. And that's going to get me a lot of download votes, and I don't care. Because Kojima, to me, is an overrated developer. Metal Gear Solid was a snore fest. I played that at a friend's PlayStation. They're like, oh, you got to play this game. It's fucking amazing. And within an hour, I fell asleep, and he had to wake me up. He's like, wake up. I'm like, what? Aren't you going to play? I'm like, no, this game's boring as shit. Let's pop in fucking Tekken 3. Or Tekken 2 or Soul Blade. That's fun. Or Dragon Ball Legends. That was kind of fun, too. And then, of course, I got the usual what Sony fanboys like to do. You're not a gamer if you don't like Metal Gear Solid. Fuck off. Just because we don't like something you like doesn't make us gamers. Okay. That's your opinion, and you can shove it up your ass. Right. So with that out of the way, yes, I sold my PlayStation, and guess what? I have not regretted it. So you may have seen in some of my old videos I do have some PlayStation games. That's because I was doing something called emulation at the time, where you stick the disc in your fucking disc system, and, hold on a second, get that fucking spider off my screen. There's a spider outbreak going on in my house right now. Anywho, motherfucker? Sorry. I'm trying to get him out of here. He might be actually in my screen. That's anyways, let's just get back to what I was talking about. Sorry, off topic. Brain goes like this. Y'all who know me know this. That's how it is about me. So yeah, I sold my PlayStation. I do have a few PlayStation games because I had a thing called Connectix Virtual Game Station, EPSXE, and the like. That allowed me to play the game. You just shove it in your disc drive, load it, there you go, it plays. I wasn't going to spend money on hardware. Fuck you, Sony. Ain't getting my money. That's for damn sure. Especially after that clusterfuck of PlayStation. I was not a fan. Still not a fan. I don't care for the PlayStation brand. And now they're Sony. And what I mean is they're soy boys and they fucking censor everything. But that's besides the point. That being said, let's get back to the topic, shall we? I just had to go and throw that out there. Just wanted to give my opinion on Sony. So if anyone ever asks me about Sony things, I don't care because fuck Sony. They can go die in a fire. Anywho, so my first N64 experience was at Blockbuster as well. And my friends were telling me, you need to go up there and play Super Mario 64. And I said, okay, what's different about it that we've seen before other than it's 3D? They're like, oh, the animation's smooth. It's like you're running around in a real world. You really owe it to yourself to play this game. And I was like, okay, well, when I feel like it, I'll go up there. I mean, I was a lazy fucking teenager, you know. Anyway, there was one day I was playing some of my games from my SNES. I only had like 7 games because, you know, cards were expensive back then. I mean, they're more expensive now, but back then they were like $70 a pop. Now they're like, what, $250, depending on the game, especially if it's a good game. So one day I was bored and I was just sitting playing. I forgot what I was playing that day. I think I was playing Kirby Superstar, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go, because that was like one of my favorite games of all. That and Super Mario RPG, played those a lot. So I was like, you know what? Blockbuster's not too far from here. Let's go up there and try it out. So, you know, I turned off my SNES, took the card out. I looked at my SNES and I talked to it like it was a person. I said, hey, I'm gonna go play your successor, and I'll let you know what I thought. Like I said, I was a lonely fucking kid. My systems were my friends at that time period. They were just, they were my friends. I didn't have anybody else. So, went up there. And there was a kid playing the N64. And right away, I could already tell, watching him play, that he was not using the controller right. He was, I should go grab a controller and show, but I'll just show you with my hand. Okay, so as you know, you have the two handles here and the middle handle here for the analog, right? He was holding it like this and using his other hand and moving it around like this, the analog. And I could already tell that's bollocks and was not the way you handle an N64 controller. But finally his mom's like, hey, I got what we need to go. And he's like, okay. He put the controller down, and I ran over there because there was another kid that was looking to play, and I was just like, fuck you, I'm going to play. So I held the controller in my hand. I got the feel for the buttons, kind of like I did with the Virtual Boy when that came out. And I like the Virtual Boy. A lot of people don't, but I mean, I own one. I'm happy to own it. It's great. And that's never given me headaches or neck pain, so I don't know, maybe I'm just in the minority. Anyway, I was holding it, I was getting the feel for the buttons, and, you know, there's Mario on the screen, and then I finally, you know, understood how you had to hold this controller. You had the middle joystick, and you put your hand on it, or the middle part, put your hand on that, and you use the analog, and you run around. And I was pressing buttons, press A to jump, B to punch, Z to duck, and the C buttons, of course, controls the camera. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, this does look good. The animation is smooth, everything looks beautiful. Nothing looks like a blocky mess like it does on a PlayStation. It looks all nice and smooth. Anti-aliasing is abound here. I mean, I was just really happy with how it looked and how it played. Now, I'll be honest with y'all. Beyond that point, I did not like Mario 64. And for one reason. It's not a bad game. It's not. It's a lot of fun. I have a kick-ass time with it. The camera. The camera in Mario 64 is the most broken mess next to Earthworm Jim 3D for the N64. Now, that game, all you would have to do in Earthworm Jim is hold the R button and it would stay as straight as possible, and it could make the game at least playable for the most part. But it was still annoying. I mean, you have to sit there and tap the R trigger while you're running around shooting shit, hearing that goofy fucking hill jack horse fucking shit kicker music. Country music. But then you have Mario 64. Mario 64, I mean, it was amazing at the time. It really was. It was a true marvel in 3D gaming at the time. For console gamers, anyway. And so was Turok. Turok was excellent, except for the fog. I mean, I can't even play that game anymore. That fog is just too much. Even the re-releases, it just rubs me off the wrong way. You know. Not that you can be rubbed off the wrong way. I mean, you wouldn't think there was a way to do that, but trust me, that game did. But we'll get to that. So I played this for at least a half hour. I went back to the title screen and picked one of the games that was new, or I deleted one that wasn't new, so I could get the experience from the beginning to the first boss. Now, I was stupid. I was a fucking moron, and I'll tell you why. When I got to the first boss, the big Babam, I didn't know you had to pick him up and just throw him. I was programmed to think in my head from watching the commercials of this game, because I saw the commercial, the one with that cringy kid is all like, ooh, this looks too spooky, I gotta get out of here. Anyways, I thought you had to spin him around like you did with Bowser from the commercial and throw him. That wasn't the way to do it at all. All you had to do was pick him up and throw him. I was dumb. And I died all my lives, tried it again, and I finally said, oh fuck, I'll just throw him. I can't seem to spin him around, I'll just throw him, and then, and I was like, oh, that's how you do it. That's what my 14-year-old self gets. So, I said, this is fun. I'm like, I can actually see myself actually enjoying this system. I need to see what more ahead, of course. And, that was 1996. I played it in October of 96. So what happened was, the past next 2 years, I was playing some games for it at Funkoland. I mentioned Funkoland plenty of times in my story videos, because that was my store. And I started to play some excellent games that I'm going to show in my next video, but you may know them by name. One of my first experiences was Extreme G. It's a racing game. I will show this to you on my next video. And I played Extreme G. It was really fun. It reminded me of Wipeout, because I did like Wipeout. In fact, I did own it before I sold it with my PlayStation. And that was really fun. I also played Mystical Ninja starring Goemon and A few others. I don't want to give it all away because I want to save that for the next video. But I was playing some games for this system, and I just noticed I was having a lot more fun with it than I did the PlayStation, because there was no load times. There was, you know, they were just, they had what I was looking for. You know, they had a kick-ass racing game with vehicular combat. There's, you know, a new mystical ninja game, because I've been waiting for one for years, and all of a sudden one pops out of nowhere on the N64. And there was just F-Zero, Ocarina of Time, and that right there, Ocarina of Time, however you want to pronounce it. I seen that game. We had okay, when I was in high school, we had this channel service called, some of you may have had it, depends. Write down in the comments below if you had. In high school, we had a service called Channel 1, and it was a educational channel that would basically tell you about certain school aspects and things, in just little tidbits, in, you know, like with science or math, or, you know, stupid stuff to help you learn it better or whatever. I never paid attention to it. I thought it was boring as shit. I mean, I was sitting there, I'm like, man, I could go to the bathroom and rub one out, and compared to watching this stupid crap, this stuff is useless. I never paid attention to it. I always just, I would put my head down and everything. And the funny thing is that I never got yelled at for it, because I think the teachers felt the same way about the services we did. But yeah, the lights would turn off in the it was weird. Like, the lights would turn off in the classroom when Channel 1 was about to come on. And I'm just sitting there thinking, the fuck is this? This is weird. You know, and like, they treated it like it was such a perfect service, and it was garbage. But I have to admit, they did play a lot of N64 commercials, which also cemented it. And that's when I saw one of the Ocarina of Time commercials, where it starts off with, I think his name is Velgaia, the dragon. The commercial starts with him flying around, and, you know, and then Link pulls out his sword and shit. I'm like, oh man, that game looks awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to see in a new generation of Zelda. And Zelda Ocarina of Time, in my opinion, is one of the best 3D games made. It translated so well, fluidly, from 2D to 3D. Some people have a love-hate relationship with it. A lot of people like its successor. I hate Majora's Mask, man. As soon as I beat my copy, it's been collecting dust ever since. Matter of fact, if I ever decide to sell it, that'll probably be, or sell some of my N64 games, I'll probably be one of the first ones I sell, because I don't really care for the card game all that much. I'm a completist, though. I like to get all the games in a series if I can, while it's on the cheap, because now, like, it's expensive. So there's that. But yeah, I said to myself, I'm like, okay, I got money set back. I need to buy an N64. And then sure enough, but I'm like, I need to find myself a part-time job, something, so I can save up some money and get this beauty. It's getting all these great games, and they have all these great games that I've played at Funkoland. I just felt like, I'm like, that's the console for me. So turns out, later that year, I was told that there's a little program called Michigan Works. It was in Mount Clemens, Michigan, and they told us in school at the time that they were looking for students to work at a summer job, and you make some decent money, and they would work it down, and they'd tell you how much you made every 2 weeks, and I think it was like $500 or something really nice like that. Good chunk of change, right? Well, it didn't turn out that way, but I'll get to that in a second. So I signed up, and we had an orientation in May, and basically we were going to work for Fraser School District, Fraser School District in Michigan. And what they had a program set where you would work with the custodians and basically help them out with some of the things they needed to get cleaned and working proper order before the next school year starts. So, you know, I worked with a group of people. We had a bad beginning, but then near the end we all fell in love with each other. I mean, we were like the Breakfast Club almost. It was ridiculous. They would, you know, given that I was just a pissed off person with a chip on my shoulder, I was hard to get along with back then. I mean, now I'm a little bit better about it, because, you know, back then I was just I was a very, I guess, sheltered kid. I didn't do much, you know, in terms of, you know, fun or exciting things like most of you. Most of you probably hung out with a bunch of friends and all that shit. I had that for a while, but then they all went away. Either they moved, or they just didn't like me anymore for whatever reason. I wish they would tell me what the reason is. To this day, I would still like to know what the reason was. I guess I got boring. I don't know. I mean, I would always want to do stuff. It's like, hey, you guys want to go to the park? Want to go throw a frisbee around? You want to play some video games? You know, want to try to beat Contra together without using the 30-man code? You know, shit like that. But yeah, I just, when I was 15, 16, and 17, those were some pretty tough years for me. I just didn't have any friends, or at least friends I could call a friend without feeling left out. Anyways, so I stuck with this job. It was hard for me, but I eventually was able to cope with the environment, you know, without wanting to kill somebody, because I was angry all the time. But we eventually, you know, we put the knives away and actually got to know each other, and then everything from that point on was good. Me and the rest of the gang, we got along, and yeah. But anyways, so they said you'd make $500 every paycheck. No, it didn't turn out to be that way, because we were supposed to work 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. You know, regular 40-hour job. Turned out, we only worked 6 hours a day, and the pay was $1 less than what we were promised. I'm not good with math calculations. You are well free to do that right now if you want to. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I was still happy. I got like 300 and I think it was 350, 380, somewhere. I don't remember. It was 3 something every 2 weeks. It was kind of shitty at one token, but another way, it was some spending money, you know, or money I could put to the side to buy some things that I needed for school, like clothes, like school clothes and shit, which I did buy. But my first check, of course, was a Nintendo 64. I bought a refurbished one for $90.39, some weird number. I went and bought it, and it came in a nice little Funko-Land box, and I was extremely happy. But however, the first game that I bought for it, I sold 2 weeks later. Excuse me. And that game was Hexen. And then there's a reason why I bought that, though. I had a friend that lived down the street. He had it for the PC. He never let me play it, though. For whatever reason. He let me play Doom, Wolfenstein, and Heretic, and all those awesome, you know, id Software first-person shooter classic days of old. But when he got Hexen, he wouldn't let me play it for some reason. He'd be like, no, I gotta do something, or no, I'm busy writing a paper for school, which I understood. I was like, alright, man. Well, whenever it's convenient for you, I would like to try Hexen. Oh, yeah, I'll let you try Hexen here, and it never happened. It never fucking happened, and it pissed me off. So I was like, fuck this. They had it, and it was cheap. It was like $8. So it's like, okay, you know, $98, there I go. I had N64, a game to play. I was excited. And then I remember going 2 doors down. There was a record store in Michigan at the time called Harmony House. Now, some of you may remember them fondly or remember them hatefully, because they actually had record prices that was higher than everywhere else, and that's how they got shut down. So I went there and I bought a... See, I didn't have a CD player at the time. I was still stuck in the Stone Age. So I bought a couple cassettes. I bought a Metallica Reload and Van Halen 3. And both of them got eaten and broken. I tried to fix them, but that didn't work. I usually, you know, when the tape splits like that, I usually put them together and put just a little bit of Scotch tape on top, and usually that's enough to feed it through. It would act like a CD skip, but it would work. I tried to do that with those, and it didn't. It just made it worse, so I just tossed them and said, I'll just buy them on CD whenever I get a CD player, which happened the following year, but that's besides the point. That's kind of the reason why I wish I would have kept the PlayStation. At least I could have used that as a CD player, right? So I took it home, you know, hooked it up, played Hexen for a little bit. Now, it wasn't a bad game on the N64, really. It wasn't horrible. My problem is I kept going in a loop. I couldn't find where you had to go. And to this day, I still don't know where to go. I mean, you eventually go to all the places that the game tells you to go, or all the portals that are around, but I couldn't find the one that would take me to a new area. I kept going in a loop. And I'm just sitting there like just banging my head against my hand like this, like, motherfucker, where do I go? And I was just so pissed. Anyways, I was playing the game, and I was trying to like it, and I said, okay, well, next paycheck I'll get a better game, right? Well, I want to say that weekend, my two friends their both names were Steve. They came over to visit my brother, and they noticed I had an N64, and my friend Steve's like, "Oh, you got yourself an N64 finally, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, I had the money, and I'm working my summer job, so hey, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and build myself a little collection here, and I'm happy to own it, and the system's gonna be great. It's gonna bring me good times, like previous systems." And it's one of the Steves is like, "Hey, I sold my N64 because I'm now I work on PC. I'm a PC gamer. Yeah, there was a master race back then too, fellas." And he's like, "I'm PC only now, but I do have a game left over, and I'll sell it to you for a good price." I'm like, what game was it? And he's like, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. And my mouth dropped. I said, I'm like, "Will you accept some payment now and then some later? Because I only have $15 to my name, and I'm willing to give you that." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll only charge you 20 for the game, but give me 15 now and then 5 later, and I'll go get it right now." I said, "Do it." So he went to get it and brought it to me because I was just itching to play something else other than that. And so he came back, got it. I gave him the 15. Didn't even think about it, and he was like, "Well, here you go, man. I hope you have a good." And he's like, "Oh, and I brought you something else too." I'm like, "What?" And it was a memory card. He's like, "You're gonna need this to save games." So I was like, "Oh, dude, thanks, man." He's like, "Hey, man, hey, I don't need it anymore. Here you go." He was a good guy. He had a little bit of I don't know. Me and him had like a hate-like relationship. He was okay, but that was a day when he was actually in a good mood. So I caught him at a good time. So I now had a memory card, and I now had a Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. And then they all left to go buy some weed and get high. And that was at a time where I quit smoking at the time. I was done. Like my first time I smoked weed, it was like from ages 14 to 16. And then I quit. And so that was during the time I was quitting. Because this was when I was 16 years old. Popped that fucker in. I played it to completion. You know how long it took me? 8 hours. I'm dead fucking serious. I fell in love with that game immediately, and I hope to one day maybe do a Let's Play on this channel of it because I love it that much. And I haven't played it in some time now, but because I've just been preoccupied with other things. I'm not going to mention them. I've already have in my last video, but I've also been I have other responsibilities as well. So but I hope to get to eventually sit down and enjoy some of the titles I do own for all my systems. So, here I had Mystical Ninja, Goemon, and Hexen for 2 weeks. When the 2-week period passed where I got my check, I sold Hexen. I was like, yeah, if I could find a way out of that fucking loop, there was like, I want to try to explain it to you, because maybe you guys can tell me how to get out of it, but there's like, you get like the 4 or 5 areas, and once you pass them, the game like seems to loop. I know that's not the end. There's more to it. I was the fighter, and I don't know if there's hidden exits or whatever. I couldn't find them unless they're in cryptic areas. Then that's probably the reason, because me and cryptic games don't mix very well. So I couldn't find so I said, fuck this, I'm gonna sell it. I got a lousy $2, but fuck it. I got $2. I used that to buy myself some lunch at Wendy's. They had the junior bacon cheeseburgers for $1. So I was like, fuck it, I'll buy myself some lunch on the way home. And then the next game I bought was Killer Instinct Gold, because I love Killer Instinct, and I've played Gold at a friend's house prior to this, and I wanted to own it, and that game was my shit. I've played that for so long, for months at a time, and I've held a little bit of tournaments at my house with the Steves and everything, and everybody used to come over. We used to have a kick-ass time. That was a very fun, awesome game. It's basically a port of Killer Instinct 2, but dumbed down because of the cartridge and not the CD format. But as far as software goes, as far as I'm going, I don't want to spoil it. I want to show you guys that in the next video. But now we're getting to the part where this thing has saved my life. This little beauty. At the age of 17, I met somebody. Mary. Yes, the one that you heard from the Tosh video and the things I said in the past. That bitch was crazy. I mean, she transcended crazy. I mean, we got into a fight and she hit me in the head with a goddamn frying pan, right? She threw ashtrays at me. She would burn me with cigarettes. But I was a stupid fuck, that just... I was in love with her because there was another part of her that I really adored. You know, times where she just hold me and, you know, I don't want to get all, like, fuck off with this video, but I'm just going to tell you how it is. You know, there were nights where she hugged and kissed me and told me things I wanted to hear. We'd listen to music together, watch movies together, and cuddled. It was great, good times. But then there's the times that I was not aware of. You know, she cheated on me plenty of times. I didn't know the real number until a year after our relationship, and that number was 7. But during our breakup, or near the end, this thing was there for me. I would just get off the phone with her, and I'd just be like, you know what? I don't understand why you're bothering me. Why don't you just fuck off? Leave me alone. I'm done. I can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this abuse. I can't deal with this emotional bullshit with you. I just can't. I don't want to talk to you. Just go away. And she'd go away. And, you know, I'd be sitting there just, doing what the teenage boys do when they really care and love somebody. And, you know, I hang my head to cry. And then I look over and there's my N64. I'm like, let's play something. Fuck this. Fuck her. She ain't worth my tears. And I would pop in some games and play them, and it got my mind off of it. One game in particular was the port of Command & Conquer, because I didn't have a PC at the time, and I never owned it for the PlayStation. So I owned the N64 port, you know, because it came out, I believe, in '99. It had to have been around that time period. I bought that port, and it helped me a lot. I would just zone out and play Command & Conquer and blow up shit and listen to, you know, Mechanical Man and Act on Instinct. You know, that game has a fantastic soundtrack, but the original PC version, of course, had the best soundtrack of them all. But, you know, for a MIDI rendition, it wasn't bad. Another game I played a lot of was Jet Force Gemini. My father bought that for me for my birthday. But I'm going to show all these games when I do my next video. I'm going to show the ones that I've spent especially the most time with, the ones that mean a lot to me, because there's just so many. Because it was after I got the N64 that my life actually, I mean, this is weird. I mean, this sounds like nerd talk, but it's true. My life literally changed. When I got an N64, I started making new friends, or I had old friends from school that never got a chance to know me, and then they got to know me and found out that I was actually a pretty fun person to hang out with. You know, we would fucking just rent games and play them to death, and we'd stay up all night and like drink a shit ton of soda and eat some Taco Bell. Like my friend's grandma, his name was Rick, his grandma would buy Taco Bell or KFC, and we would just stuff our fat fucking faces and play fucking N64. It was good golden times, man. You know, but then after when me and that thing, I can't call her a human or a woman because she's a demon in a human skin. When her and I split, I lost them all again. The friends. I had no one to get through that situation but myself. And, you know, my game systems were there and they helped. They definitely did help. And the N64 is very important to me on that aspect. I mean, it was something that okay, like, I'm getting tied up with my words. I apologize. You know, like 2D gaming, it's simple. You know, you walk left, right, hit shit, and you just move on. N64 was more. It was a weird time with 3D gaming. I mean, it was just more complex of worlds and things to do, and it would help me focus on that more so than the bullshit that I was dealing with in my life personally. And you know, the end of summer of '99, when the job thing was over and I went back to school, you know, it made me think. I'm like, you know, I worked really hard on this job, and it made me want to pursue more in terms of work. And shortly after that, I found a job at a pet store, and I accumulated more titles through that because I always went for the cheap. It was easy to find games for the N64 at that time because it wasn't a love system. I mean, the PlayStation everyone was loving, and me, I ignored the son bitch because I had no interest in it whatsoever. It just wasn't for me. It felt like an SNES just with the 3D accelerator, and to some people that's great, but I couldn't stand the loading times, the graphics that literally made me ill, like the warping and shit. It's like, what the fuck? But, you know, a lot of people have warm, fuzzy memories with that system, too. But like with this system gave me some great multiplayer experiences with friends and good times with people, and it brought us together as gamers, and it was a cemented feeling of just entertainment and joy. It's something that brought us together as gamers, and we got to sit in the same room and just fuck each other up with this thing. But we would have fun doing it. It wouldn't be a personal vendetta or a personal problem. It would just be 4 guys just fucking off and playing games and having a great time, and we would. I love the N64. I adore it. It's a lot of people give it so much shit, and it makes me angry because there is some great stuff to be played on here. I mean, like I said, my opinion ain't be all end all. It never will be. But this is my opinion. And I was happy to buy this for $90 and whatever cents. When I took it home, I knew I was in for a great time. And when I finally got Zelda that Christmas, man, I was glued to that game for like 2 days. In fact, that night when we had Christmas dinner, I was like, fuck off. I don't want dinner. I want to play me some fucking Zelda. As a matter of fact, my dad had to come upstairs and turn the game off to get me to come downstairs. That's how disobedient I was and how much of a nerd I was. I mean, it's not like that nowadays. Now it's like if I got something to do, okay, I will do it, you know. But back then, that was my life, you know. And yeah, I just look back fondly on that time frame and just remember the good times I had on that motherfucker. And that was probably, I mean, sure, the GameCube came later, and I had some great times on that too, which I will touch base on in the near future. But the N64 was a marvel to me. I mean, yeah, the games don't look great nowadays, but back then it blew me away. I loved the fact there was no loading. I loved how there was different controller schemes. Some of the ports it did get weren't great, but some of them surpassed the CD counterpart, which is hard to believe. But you know, it's a wonderful system, and I sincerely wish people would give it a second chance, or at least play some and notice that there are some great stuff on there. And if you like, you know, multiplayer, if you can get some friends together to play, I mean, there's some great stuff on there, and I'm going to touch base on some of those in my next video. But until then, this is getting a little long. I'm getting too nostalgic for this. I can just feel it in my brain. I'm like almost transporting myself back to that time frame. It's kind of weird. But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of these stories. I really enjoy the N64, and I don't regret purchasing it at all, and I think I made the right purchase during the 5th generation, because I wasn't enjoying the PlayStation. I did like the Saturn, too, but unfortunately I bought that long after the Saturn was no longer being supported. So, but I already mentioned that earlier. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed this video for what it's worth, and you know, look forward to the next one. I should get that here in a couple days, because I got a lot to say and a lot to show. So please stay tuned for that, and we will definitely get that squared away. And I hope you all have a good rest of your night. Take good care of yourselves. Keep loving, keep gaming, keep it retro, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for watching my video. I'd like to take a moment to thank my Patreons for supporting me on my channel. If you'd like to support me as well, I have a link in the description, and just throw me a couple bucks, and if you want to see your name up on the wall of these fine people, I will add you right up there with them on my next video. Until the next one, guys, take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the next one.